Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Mrs. Cudmore. I'm here with Mrs. C. We are going to be walking you through the UC, CSU, and Common Applications tonight. This presentation is being recorded, so if you need to go back and review something, you can look at it later. We will post it on our counseling website, our counseling Canvas class, and the senior year guide. So it will be in multiple places for you to review. So thank you for joining us. There is a lot of information that we're going to cover tonight. So we're going to jump right in and get started. And if you have questions, you can type them in the chat. We do have counselors on the YouTube link who will be answering questions in the chat as well. So one of the things you want to do before you start your college applications is make sure that you have everything prepared. So there are certain things that you want to have on hand so that you're not searching for information when you get to certain parts of the application. So here's just a couple things that you definitely want to have on hand, ready to go when you sit down to start your applications. Make sure you have your transcript. Make sure you know what your state ID number is, and that is circled right there in the red circle on your transcript. This is a state ID number. It is not your Poway Unified ID number. So this is a unique ID number that is given to you by the state of California. Also, our school code can be helpful to look up Westview High School in your applications. One of the things we're going to tell you several times tonight, we're going to remind you, is that we are considered a semester system, semester grading system, and we'll show you what that's going to look like on each of the applications. It's a little bit different in each application, how you're going to report your grades, but for every single application, we are considered a semester grading system. The term that you're applying for is fall of 2022, undergraduate. You also should have a list of your resume or a list of your activities. Most of your applications are going to ask you to report this information. So if you already have that prepared on a resume, it's great to have that available so you can copy that information into your applications. Your test scores and the test dates, the dates that you took those exams, this is dependent on whether or not this is applicable to your applications. And we'll go through each application and talk a little bit more about reporting your test scores and whether or not those are going to be required. Your parent or legal guardian information is also important to have on hand. The colleges will usually ask for their education history and occupational information, and then any other academic awards or achievements. It's really important also that you keep track of your application login information. So you may end up having to create different usernames and different passwords for each of your applications. So make sure that you keep track so that you have everything that you need and you can log in at any time, whether you're at home or whether you're at school and you have a question. It's important that you're able to log into your applications. Also, just a tip, make sure you're using a professional email address. This is the email that colleges are going to be communicating with you. So just make sure it's something professional. If you don't already have one, you can create one. I know some students have created a email just for their college applications, and they've shared the login information with their parents, just so that there's another person checking, another person kind of keeping track of when colleges email you. Sometimes they'll email you something that you need to do. So that's up to you to decide whether or not you want to do that. I've just heard students in the past that have done that as well. So again, just these are some important things to have on hand when you get ready to do your applications. We are a semester system. Even though we have quarters, our grading is based on a semester grading scale. And so what that means is that you receive 2 grades for every class that you take. So in the examples on the left side here, English 1, 2, you get a grade for English 1 and you get a second grade for English 2. You're not getting more than 2 grades for that class. So that is where the semester grading system comes from. Every class that we have, you get 2 grades for it. Even if it's an AP class and it's a year-long class, it's divided up into 2 separate classes. So the Honors Pre-Calc 1, 2 and the AP Calc 1, 2 are considered 2 separate classes. Each one of those has 2 grades. So on the UC application, you're going to enter it in. It will have spots for grade 1 and grade 2. So grade 1 would be the first half of that class. Grade 2 would be the second half of that class. On the CSU application, it's going to be called fall and spring. It's not really when you took the class. It's not if you took it in the fall or the spring. It's just the first half of the class goes in the fall grade and the second half of the class goes in the spring grade. So again, it's 2 grades per class. The first half is either grade 1 or fall, and the second half of the class is grade 2 or the spring grade. And we'll show you again when we get to these specific applications what that looks like when you enter in all of your classes. You will be self-reporting your grades on the UC and CSU application and possibly even the common application. On this UC and CSU application, you're only going to report grades that have a little P next to them. So you'll see on the in the little second column here, there's classes that have a P. Those are college prep classes. They meet the A through G requirements. So those are the classes that you're going to be listing on your UC and CSU application. If there's a class that does not have a P, it's typically either a PE class or a class that doesn't count for A through G. So those would have a blank spot in that column. You will not list those in the UC or CSU application. Again, year-long classes are reported as 2 separate classes. So in this example, Honors Pre-Calculus 1-2 is a class with 2 grades, and AP Calculus AB 1-2 is another class with 2 separate grades. The weighted courses will show with either an AH or an HH in the first column next to where it has the P. Those are the classes that get the weighted designation on the UC and CSU applications. It only applies to, for honors classes, it only applies to Honors American Lit, Honors Medical Interventions, and Honors Principles of Engineering. And then any AP classes would have that weighted designation as well. When you're reporting repeated grades, we will show you specifically when we get to each of these applications, but just as a general rule, on the UC applications, you will enter all of your grades, all of the classes that you took, and all the grades you received. So you will enter the original grade, and you will also enter the repeated grade on the UC application. They want to see everything, the original grade and the repeated grade. And in order for it to count as a repeated grade, it must be the exact same course. On the CSU application, it's a little bit differently. They only want you to report the higher grade you earned. So if you repeated the class, you don't need to report the original grade. You only need to report the higher grade or the repeated grade. If it's something that you're taking this year, then you will put that you're planning to take that course. And again, we'll show you this when we get to these applications. Just a reminder that all A through G courses must be a C or higher. And there is a link down there if you want to look at the specific policies about validation, which applies to math and language classes. EOP is a program through the UC and CSU campuses. It provides assistance to students who may come from first-generation college student families or from low-income or educationally disadvantaged backgrounds. If this applies to you, you should definitely apply for the EOP program. The application is embedded within the UC and CSU application. There's lots of great resources and opportunities through the EOP programs. And some of them will ask for a recommendation. So if you're planning to apply to the CSU EOP application, they will ask for a teacher recommendation as well. Okay, so now we're going to get into the UC application. Just a couple important updates for the fall 2022 application cycle. Reminder that pass or credit grades earned in the spring, summer, or fall of 2020 will meet your A through G requirements. So this applies to when our school went into virtual learning and we had the credit grades. Those will count towards your A through G requirements. They will not, however, be included in your GPA calculation. So while they will meet the A through G requirements, they don't get calculated into the GPA. And just another reminder that UC will not consider SAT or ACT scores when making any admissions decisions for fall of 2022. They will not even see your test scores during the application cycle. They may use them if you choose to submit test scores. They may use them later on for placement purposes in courses once you get into the UC, but they will not use them as part of your admissions. And again, the link down there on the bottom will give you more information about the UC updates. So when you start your UC application, make sure you're choosing the right term that you're applying for. So it would be the fall quarter or semester of 2022. The quarter or semester depends on which campus you're applying to. Some of them are on quarter systems and some are on semester systems, but it would be the fall of 2022. And your application level would be freshman. You're applying as a current high school student. Once you're in the UC application, you'll see all the different tabs on the right-hand side of the screen. It's going to walk you through each section. So if you just keep hitting continue or hitting save and go to the next screen, it's just going to walk you through the whole application. You can also jump between the different screens, but it's good just to start from the beginning and work your way through. Once you've completed a section, there'll be a little check mark on that right side here. It'll show you which ones have been completed. So the first section, you're just going to enter in all your personal information. The next section is going to have you choose the campuses that you're applying to. So this just comes up as a big map, and it has you check on the little squares here. It'll have you check the colleges that you're planning to apply to within the UC system. So you'll choose the ones that you're interested in. Over here on the left side, it's going to show you your estimated cost. This is showing a student who qualified for a fee waiver. So they received up to 4 campuses for free. So their cost is $70, but it's $70 per campus if you don't qualify for the fee waiver. So then the total cost would be higher over here for these 5 campuses. The next section is going to take you into choose your major. So you have to choose your major for each college. So you'll see your campuses listed here on the left-hand side, and then you'll see the button for choose major, and some of them will also require you to choose an alternate major. You can choose the major for every college. Sometimes they're called something a little bit different. Sometimes it's the same thing that you're applying for at each school. So it just depends where you're applying and which specific major you're looking at. If you're applying to UC San Diego, you also have to rank the colleges within the UC San Diego system. If you need more information about that, you can search that up on their website. They have different colleges within within UC San Diego. So you would rank your top colleges. The next section is going to start your academic history. So first, it'll ask you if you took any 7th or 8th grade courses. This would apply to math, integrated 1 or higher, or any language courses that you took in middle school, 7th or 8th grade. So if you took Spanish 1-2, or let's say integrated 1A, 1B, you would report those classes here in this section. It's also going to ask you for the years that you were enrolled in each grade level. So it'll ask your start date, which if you came here as a freshman would be August 2018, and your end date will be June of 2022. Then you're going to put in each grade level. So 9th grade would be the 2018-19 school year, 10th grade 19-20, 11th 2021, and 12th grade would be 21-22. If you took any summer courses, you'll check the little box here. It's really important that you make sure that these selections are entered correctly, because that's how you're going to enter in all your courses based on each grade level. It will also ask you for our grading system, which is A through F grading. And again, we are a semester school, so 2 final grades per class. And then ask you for your graduation information. So you'll be graduating with your high school diploma in June of 2022. So just make sure your screen looks the same as this if you were here at Westview all 4 years. Again, this is an overview. It'll take you through the overview. Just make sure that everything is accurate before you move on to the next section. This is the same information we just entered on the last screen. So putting in your courses, you will enter them by grade level and then by subject area. So the first thing it's going to do is pull up 9th grade 2018-19 school year, and it'll have all of the different A through G subject areas listed. So you'll go through and enter your courses by looking at either your course history or your transcript. So you'll enter in your English class with the 2 grades you received, your math class, and then any other classes that you took that were A through G classes in 9th grade. Then it will have you enter 10th grade, 11th grade, and then 12th grade. So you'll enter them in by school year. Remember, for spring of 2020, which was Q4 grades, and if you took any summer 2020 classes, you will enter credit or no credit for those grades. So you didn't receive letter grades. We didn't award letter grades during that time. So you would just enter credit within those boxes. And just a reminder, if you took any year-long classes, make sure you're putting in both parts, both courses within the year-long class. So you should have 4 grades that you're reporting. So AP European History 1 and 2 and World History 1 and Honors World History 1 and 2. So just make sure you have all of your courses listed in there. This is an example of a repeated course. So again, this is for the UC application where they want to know all of your grades. So you will report the original grade that you received if it was a D or an F. And then you will also report the repeated grade. So you'll put that class in twice. Let's say you only needed to repeat the first half of the class. You would enter no, N-O, that you didn't take the second half of that course. So N-O stands for no course. So you only need to enter in the 1 grade that you repeated. Senior year courses are a little bit trickier to enter. This is where we find the most errors on our students' applications when we're reviewing them. We highly encourage you to have a counselor look over your application before you submit. Once you make changes, or once you submit, you can't make changes. So you would have to notify each college individually if you made a mistake. So it's really important that you let us check over this. It only takes us a couple seconds to kind of go through and make sure everything looks good. So the way to figure out your senior year courses, the guide is over here on the right-hand side. If you are planning to apply now before your Q1 grades are final, you would put all Q1 classes as in progress. Q2, 3, and 4 would be planned. If you're going to wait and submit your application after your Q1 grades are posted on your transcript, then at that point you would enter in the grades that you received for Q1, so A, B, or C, whatever grade you received. Q2 would move to in progress, so those would be the classes that you're currently taking, and quarters 3 and 4 would be planned. So when you're looking at the screen, you're going to see which classes are in progress and which classes are planned. Civics and Econ is a tricky one. Those are considered 2 separate courses. So for civics, if you're currently enrolled, you would put in progress for the first half of that class, and then no course for the second half, because Econ is considered a separate class. Then when you look down here at the Econ class, you're putting in no for the first half, because that's when you're enrolled in civics, and then planned for the second half. So if you're currently in civics, this is how it should look on your application, civics and econ. If you're taking it in the spring, you would just change this one to planned, that you're not currently in progress, but you're planning to take the civics course. Another thing to note is AP Stats. The Q4 of AP Stats is not considered an A through G course. So that's another one where you would put in progress for statistics, but no course for the second grade there, because the AP Statistics Seminar is not considered an A through G course. One other example down here, psychology. If you happen to take that class, that one comes up separated as well. So you would put in psychology 1 and psychology 2, the same way that it looks here on the screen. If you have any questions, please come see us. We'll also have open labs coming up in the next few weeks. So that's where you can come in, log into your application, and we can look at this and make sure everything looks good before you submit your applications. If you attended any colleges, if you took any college classes, you would report that as well on your application. So you would put in the term that you took the class. If you have a grade already, you would report the grade that you received. If it's something you're taking this year, you can put in progress or planned. Again, this is your state ID number. So that is found on your transcript right underneath your name. It's called the state ID. That is the number that they're looking here on the California SSID number. So test scores, I mentioned earlier, the UCE will not be looking at test scores this year when they're making their admissions decisions. You can enter your scores, but they may only be used later on for placement purposes in your classes in college. So it's up to you whether or not you want to report any scores if you have them. The activities and awards section, this is where you're going to put in any activities, any extracurriculars, any clubs, hobbies, sports, anything you've been involved in, volunteer work, community service, that will all be added here in the activities section. Sometimes you need to abbreviate things or kind of condense them. Make sure you're not abbreviating the name of an activity or a program, because sometimes the college doesn't know what that is, but you can kind of shorten or use shorter words to explain what those are so that the college understands what it is. This also is a section where you can put in other coursework, so classes that are not A through G. This is where you could put a class like AP Statistics Seminar, or if you were an academic tutor, you wouldn't really report PE classes here, but anything that would be considered academic or you want a college to know about, maybe something like ROTC that's not A through G approved, but you want the college to know that you took those courses as well. You can add those here in the other coursework section. The personal insight questions, you have 8 questions to choose from, and you must respond to 4 questions, so 4 of the 8. Choose the prompts that are the most relevant to you. They are a maximum of 350 words each, so they're not long essays, they're shorter. That's why they call them personal insight questions. They really want to get to know you better. This is your part of the application where you can share your story, where you can tell the college about you, about your experiences, about things that are important to you, your goals, whatever it is that you want to make sure that they know about you. All the questions are given equal consideration, so there's no weight for any of those particular questions. We did have a workshop last week or 2 weeks ago on the personal insight questions. So if you want to go back and review that, that is available on our senior year guide as well. Just some do's and don'ts. One thing that's really important, do not be campus specific in your application. It's the same application that goes to every single campus. So if you write in there that UCLA is my top choice school, then UC Riverside is going to read that. So you want to make sure that you're not including any specific campus names in your personal insight questions. There's also an additional comment section. This is an optional section. It should not be used as a continuation of your responses to the personal insight questions. It only really should be used if there's any additional clarification you need to provide to the college. If there's some unusual situation or circumstance, or just anything else that you feel like you need to explain to the college, that would be this section here for the additional comments. And there is a 550 word limit to this section.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the California State University Application Details section. And so for this first part, we just want to highlight a few of the important CSU updates as well. Of course, same as UC, CSU will consider course grades of credit or pass fulfilling A through G requirements. They have also temporarily suspended the use of ACT and SAT examinations, as we told you a little bit earlier in this presentation. But just so you know, campuses and programs designated as impacted may utilize higher A through G GPA thresholds for applicants. So that's something important to note. And for you to review all the full details, we included a link here at the bottom where you can get more of the CSU freshman updates if you need more information about that. So you have lots of options with the CSU campuses. You have 23 campuses here in California, and something that they have available to help you decide which ones you want to apply to is called the CSU Campus Match Site. So we included a link below, and that allows you to figure out by location, setting, size, sports, to see which ones would be a better match for you. And the reason why we want you to look into this is it does cost $70 per campus to apply. So we definitely don't recommend applying to all of them because it does add up. So definitely take a look at the Campus Match Site so you can make the best selection for yourself. Then we have the application deadline. So this is really important because you'll note that there are several deadlines listed on this page. So we have our most impacted campuses, their application is due November 30th. Then we have some on December 15th. And then we have 4 campuses that have dates into later this year or later next year as well. So please make sure that you pay attention to this. And something that you have to know is once you submit one application to a CSU, you cannot make any changes to that application. So all the CSUs you decide to apply will get the exact same application. So if you do need to make changes to your application, you'll actually have to email each individual campus to give them the updates that you need, and then they will let you know whether or not they'll accept those updates. But it's really important that you pay attention to these deadlines, and please don't forget that once you submit one application, you can't make any changes to it any longer. So then we come up to the selecting campus and program. So this is where you're going to search for the school and look and select what major you're interested in. And in some cases, they'll ask you to provide an alternative major as well. And on the top of the screen, the more campuses you include, your fees will start raising. So that's a good way to see how much you're going to be spending on submitting these college applications. And if you qualify for a fee waiver, at the end of the application is when it'll let you know if you do, and that'll give you a fee waiver for up to 4 campuses. So again, you don't need to request a fee waiver from your counselors. At the end of the application, it'll let you know, you'll answer some questions and let you know whether or not you meet the eligibility for it. So definitely keep an eye out for that part as well. Then we get to the home page. So this is really like the dashboard page where you're going to be able to see all the sections that you need to complete and whether or not you completed the entire section or you still have a few more to finish. So the first one is just your personal information. That's where you put, your address, name, date of birth, you name it. And then you move on to the academic history section. And this is where you're going to put what high school you attended, if you attended any community college, if you attended several high schools, you would put that in there. That's where you're going to put all your class information using your transcript or your course history in your student view account. Then we have program material, which is where you'll get campus and program specific application information. And then if you're interested in the EOP program, for example, you would find that in the supporting information. So that's where you would put in teacher recommendations and any achievements that you've had. Then the most important piece is your academic history. So this is where you're going to pull up Westview High School. Obviously, it's in the United States. You can search by San Diego, California. You could also search by our CEB code and then select Westview as your high school. And then dates attended is really important. The dates included in this example are for a student that has been here since freshman year. So make sure you change those dates if you transferred here, and make sure that you put all the high schools that you attended in the past 4 years. And again, the number one thing that we keep saying in this presentation is the term type has to be semester. Please do not put quarters because your entire application will be incorrect. So please put semester, because if later on I will show you how you can catch if you put quarters by accident, and I don't want you to have to redo your entire application because that's what will happen. You have to go in and re-enter all of your classes. So please put semester. Then here we have an example of how to enter your courses. So we have a little bit of a piece of a transcript, and then we have your 10th grade classes and some 9th grade classes. So what you'll do is you'll enter the courses by your grade level, and then you'll start typing the title of the class, and it'll populate a list of classes that match what you've typed so far. And then that's how you'll select your classes. You'll enter your course type, which could be none, honors, or advanced placement. There's another option for IB, but we do not offer those courses here, so you can ignore that. Then the same thing goes as for the UC application. Your fall class would be your first grade earned, and then your spring class grade will be your second grade earned. So in Spanish 5-6, for example, on here, quarter 1, if you took it in the fall, your grade would be an A, and then quarter 2 would be considered under the spring category. So it'll work the same way, where you want to make sure that you enter the first grade earned for the fall and the second grade earned for the spring.
And just to note, when you're putting in the classes, when you're typing them in, sometimes it doesn't come up if you're not typing it in the correct way that it's listed in the application. So most of our classes should automatically populate, or all of our classes should automatically populate. So if you need to type it in a different way, sometimes like the example on here has high school English. If you type in English, it may not come up. Same with, I know, like the history, the US history versus United States history. So sometimes it's the way that you're typing in the course. So if it's not coming up in the beginning, try a different way of typing in the name of the course, and you should be able to find it.
Awesome. And then now when you're entering repeat courses, so this is different from the UC application. So here on the CSU application, you only list the repeated grade, not the original grade. So in this example, you can see 9th grade, this student took Biology 1-2. In Biology 1, they received an A-, and in Biology 2, they had to put no course because they repeated Biology 2 in 10th grade. So you can see in 10th grade, they added Biology 1-2 again, but for Biology 1, they put no course because they received A- in 9th grade. So they didn't have to repeat that class, but then they added a B for Biology 2. So that shows the CSUs that you repeated that course and then received a B. So that's how you'll want to make sure that you put it on there. Here is an example of how to enter AP courses. So it's the same thing. Even though it's a full year-long class, we want to make sure that you enter both of the classes. So Honors Pre-Calc will be one class where you put 2 grades. AP Calc will be one class as well where you put 2 grades. And when you put in an AP class, just know that typically the course type will always just automatically update by itself for you and say advanced placement. That is not the case with honors courses, especially in this case where pre-calc honors doesn't qualify as an honors course because it has an H next to the transcript instead of a HH. So that's something else that we talked about earlier. So make sure that advanced placement or honors populates and that they're only designated as weighted credit if the transcript shows an AH for advanced placement or HH for honors. Then for spring 2020, so this is just a reminder that you received credit or no marks for your spring 2020 Q4 classes. So you will enter pass if you received a credit. So if you see a credit on your transcript, a CR, that means you're going to put a pass in the CSU application. If you received an NM as a grade, then you would put no pass for your Q4 grades of spring 2020. So we just wanted to give you a heads up about that because the wording is a little bit different for this application. Then for entering senior courses, this is very similar to the UC app where if you're entering before your Q1 grades are final, your Q1 grades you would show as in progress, Q2 would be planned, and Q3 and 4 would also be planned. But if you wait to enter your classes until after your Q1 final grades have been posted, then you'll actually put the grade you received in Q1, and then Q2 would be in progress, and then Q3 and 4 would then be planned. So just make sure that you note those differences. And again, with civics and econ, since they are 2 separate courses, you need to make sure that you enter no course for the other half. So for civics here, if you were taking it right now in term 1, you would put that it's in progress for the fall and then no course for the spring. And then for econ, you would put that you have no course in the fall because you don't take it in Q1. And since you take it in Q2, then you would put it as planned for the spring. So we just wanted to make sure that we remind you of that as well. A through G Magic. So this section is really important, and this is how you can really catch yourself if you made any mistakes. So if you notice here that the number of years are not adding up, and it shows that you are missing a lot of your A through G matching requirements, I bet that you most likely put in the beginning of your application that Westview is a quarter school. That is typically always the issue when you see that these do not match up at all. So in that case, you would have to redo all of your class information and change it back to semester. So this is a good way to catch yourself if you did that. It'll be very obvious that you put in your course history incorrectly. So after you enter, again, all of your courses, this is your summary of all your A through G requirements that you have or have not met. So you'll get the total required years of each subject in parentheses. So as you can see, history and social science, you need 2 years. That's how much is required. And then the column that says years is how many you have achieved here in high school. So that reflects your years reported. If you need to make any changes, so if something's missing, something's not adding up, then you go to update A through G courses. And I'll show you on the next slide what that looks like and why you would even do that. So here you'll see, for example, when the student selected update A through G courses for Spanish 3-4, you can see that the box is actually empty. So this student is not receiving language credit, which is the E in the A through G. So it's really important for you to look at this and make sure that you don't have any empty spots. So in this case, you would just simply put an E there and update that page. And something that I also wanted to note on the previous page that I mentioned is the GPA that you see at the bottom typically will not match the GPA on your transcript, and that's okay. I don't want you to worry about it. We also find that a lot of times that section is actually broken and doesn't accurately report your GPA. So don't worry about the calculated GPA that you see there. What I really want you to focus on is making sure that you've met all your A through G requirements and that you're receiving credit for all of that. And just in case you don't have a G elective, what you can always do is go through your courses and see what advanced classes you've taken. So if you've gone above and beyond the requirements for math or science, you can recode one of those classes as a G to give you credit as a college preparatory elective. So that's something else that you could use if you don't have a class that meets the G requirement. And then for standardized tests, so again, just a little reminder, this is what the freshman testing requirements are. This means that the SAT and ACT scores will not be used for determining who gets admitted into our CSUs for fall 22 first-time freshmen. So this gives you a lot of really good detailed information about what that process looks like. We also included a link below to give you more information about that, but we just want to make sure that that is very clear to you. There's the educational programs and work experience section. So these responses, they can be used as supplemental criteria. You can also select yes or no to indicate your involvement in the programs that they have listed there for you. If you've worked in the last 12 months, you can type the average number of hours worked per week. And if you were also involved in extracurricular activities during the last 12 months, you could also type in the average number of hours worked per week. And then the overview of the EOP application. So the one thing I definitely want you to do is make sure that you check the deadlines for the EOP application for each campus, because they can vary. So that's really important. So make sure you look into that for each campus that you're interested in. This section will cover general questions. It'll ask about parent guardian information and financial status. It'll ask you a few biographical questions, and it'll ask for contact information for 2 people who will be completing your recommendation letter, which is a part of the process as well.
Okay, so we are going to take a look at the common application. This is some important information about your high school that will be asked on the common application. So you can reference this page. This may be a good page to take a screenshot of. It will ask for specific information about your graduation date. Graduating class size is approximately 600. Also important is that we do not rank. So that is one of the questions you will be asked on the application. WestU does not provide class rank. Our GPA reporting scale is a 4.0, and it's a weighted GPA scale. And again, our course system is a semester system. So these are all questions that you're going to have to answer on the application. If you need your counselor's information, it's on the left-hand side with our alphabetical breakdown. If you're needing a recommendation from a counselor, you will need to put in our name. We'll get there in a few minutes. I'll show you what that's going to look like. So navigating the Common App has a couple different tabs at the top. So each of these applications look a little bit differently. They're not too difficult to manage once you're in there. It's just making sure that you're understanding the different systems that you're using. So the dashboard is where you can manage and keep track of your application progress. It will show you if the application is still in progress or if the application has been submitted. It's kind of your overview of the application here on the dashboard. The My Colleges tab is where you're going to add the specific colleges that you're applying to. So you'll have a little section here listed with the different names of the colleges that you're adding to your common application. And you'll want to click on the little arrow to expand that section. That's going to give you college specific information and questions. So if you have any specific things that that college is looking for, it would be here in this My Colleges section. So you need to make sure that you're going into each specific college and finding out if there's additional information that they need from you. The Common App tab is the actual application. So this is the application that's going to be completed that will be the same for every college you're applying to. So any specific college information will be in the My Colleges tab, but the Common App is the general application with all of your demographic, education, information that will all be here in this Common App section. So again, this information will be the same that will be provided to every college that you're applying to. So the education section is where you're going to enter in the information that I showed you on the first screen that asked for information about Westview. So about our graduating class size, our GPA reporting scale. The little arrow here is pointing to where you will enter in your GPA. So on the other applications, you're not actually entering a GPA. The UC and CSU is calculating it for you. On the Common application, you will report your GPA. And the GPA that you want to use is your academic GPA that's listed on your transcript or in your course history in Synergy in Student View. So you can find that in a couple different places, but that is the weighted academic GPA that you want to report here in this section and choose that it's a weighted GPA. The Common App is going to ask you to report your current or most recent year courses. So your current courses for this school year. The tricky part on this section is going to ask you how many courses you want to report. I've done this with a couple students, and every time for some reason we always have to go back and change that number. And when you change the number, you have to re-enter in all your information. So it can be helpful to count how many courses you're going to be reporting before you put in that number. So you'll put in the class, again, we're semester system, and you're going to type in the course title exactly as it appears on your transcript. You'll choose the course level, so whether it's a college prep level or AP level class. And then you will choose from here, it says course one schedule. So your options are going to be full year, first semester, or second semester. If you are taking the full course, so AP Government 1, 2, you choose full year. You're taking the full course. You're not just taking half of that course. So you'll put in the full course for most of your classes. Another example is XBOS 1, 2. If you're taking that class, you're taking both halves, that would be considered the full year of that course. The only time you're going to enter in first semester or second semester is if the classes are divided up into separate courses. So civics and econ is the example where they're divided into two separate courses. So you would enter in civics and put first semester, and then separately another class, so that would be another class you would add in, is economics, and you'll put in second semester for that one. So most of the courses that you're going to put in are going to be considered full year. Civics and econ is an exception, and there may be one or two other ones that you might have depending on what classes you're taking, but we can help you figure that out as well. Some colleges are requiring you to put in all your courses and grades. This may not be required for any schools that you're applying to, but we're finding that more and more colleges are asking for this. So this is where you will report all of your classes by grade level. So entering your 9th grade courses, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Well, actually the 12th grade courses go in that last section. So it would be 9th through 11th grade. So they only want to know classes that have been completed and the final grades that you received. So you'll put put in the courses and you're going to list the course. So you'll choose the subject area and then the course name exactly as it appears on your transcript, what level the course is, and then you're going to enter in semester 1, the grade you received, semester 2, the grade you received for the second half of the class. You will not enter anything in the final box. You will leave that box blank. For the credits, you're going to do the same. So 5 credits for semester 1 of the course, 5 credits for semester 2 of the course, and the final box will be left blank. It has a little asterisk on there. It looks like it's a required box, but it's not. You can submit without filling in the final box. So we don't receive final like 1 grade at the end. That's not the way our system works, and your credits are divided up among the semesters. So this is the way that your application should look when you're entering in your classes. The final box should be left blank. The recommendation and FERPA section is in the My Colleges area of the application. So this is going to be for colleges that are requiring any letters of recommendation. You will have to complete this release authorization before you add in any additional information about your recommenders. So the FERPA release will be completed once, and it will apply to all of the schools that you're applying to. You only need to do the FERPA one time. What's really important is that once you complete it, you cannot change. So you can't go back and change your selection once you've completed it. So it's really important that you are completing the section accurately the first time. So the question will ask you, should I waive my rights? The FERPA has 2 parts. So it's asking you to give permission for the high school to provide information on your behalf. So for us to send your transcripts, we need your permission, you or your parents, if you're under 18. And then it's also going to ask if you are waiving your rights to review your recommendations. The colleges want you or suggest that you waive your rights to review your recommendations. This means that you don't have access to read them, but it helps to reassure the college that the letters are candid and truthful, that the person who wrote them feels that they can be truthful in their letter. We always say we always provide great letters. If there's ever a concern, I would talk to a student about it. So by waiving your rights, you're trusting in that recommender to write something about you. Some recommenders will choose not to write a letter if you do not waive your rights. So that is their choice as the person providing that recommendation. For counselors, we are unable to provide any comments about your character if you choose not to waive your right. We can only provide factual information about your academic record. And so if you want a letter that is personal and about your character, then we recommend that you waive your rights to read the letter, is basically what you're doing. And again, your selection to waive or not waive your rights can't be changed once you have made that selection and submitted your applications. This is what the section will look like. So it'll give you some instructions. There is additional information if you want to read through that more. This was kind of just a brief overview of what the FERPA is. If you want more information, you can click on the links here. So we'll ask you to say, yes, I read and understood what the release is, and then you will choose one of the 2 selections. So I waive my right to review my recommendations and supporting documents, or I do not waive my right. And then you'll also check the box down here. I understand that my waiver cannot be changed once I sign and click save below. You'll put in your name, the date, and then save and close that. And then that FERPA will be completed for all of your colleges. Once you're through the FERPA section, it's going to ask you to invite your recommenders. You will invite your teachers. You will put your teachers' names in here, but you do not put their email address in. We use SCORE to submit your letters of recommendation. We don't do it directly through the Common App. So they want you to list your teachers' names here, but do not put their email address in. Leave that box blank. Same for the counselor. It's going to ask you to put your counselor's name in there. Again, do not put our email address in there as well. Everything will be sent through SCORE. If there's any non-Westview staff that you're using as a recommender, so maybe it's somebody outside of school that you're including as a recommender, then you would put their email address in, because they have to submit directly through Common App. They wouldn't have access to use SCORE. So staff members at Westview will use SCORE. Anyone else, you would put their email address in here, and that's how they will be able to upload their letter of recommendation into your account.
Great. Now we're going to move on to SCORE. So a lot of this information might be a little bit repetitive, but we really want to make sure that you know and understand what you need to do in order for us to be able to send all of your college documents on your behalf. So first, we're going to start with what your My Colleges page looks like. This page is very important, so I want to make sure that you go in and fill it in. So let's talk about what this looks like. So you can actually add to your colleges list several different ways. You can do it through your student dashboard, through your college search, through the college details pages, or directly right here from within your My Colleges page. So the non-interested column, which is hidden, I circled here in red for you. This is where you'll find any colleges that at some point you were following or thinking about applying, but you decided not to. So you dismissed them, you moved them, maybe you even said you were going to apply, but you're no longer interested in. So that's where you'll find any colleges that fall into that category. Then we have your suggested column. This, you will only see colleges in here if any of your linked parents or guardians or counselors put suggestions in there for you. So that's what the suggested means for you. Then following, these are any colleges that you are interested in, but you're really not sure whether you're going to apply for them or not. What's nice about having them here in your following category is colleges can send you messages to give you a little bit more information about like the programs that they offer. By no means do they have any access to your personal information, but they can see that you are interested in them, so they'll send you additional information. The other part that I really like about it too is if one of those colleges happens to be having a college visit here at Westview, SCORE will send you a notification saying, hey, one of the colleges you're following is coming to Westview on this date, register for it. So I find that to be very useful for our students. And then the last two columns, I'm going to talk to you in detail in the next few slides. So the next column is your applying column. So once you've marked a college as applying, please know that you will be asked a few different questions. You're going to be asked about the application type and method. So for type, in this example, it just has rolling as a type, but there's regular decision, there's early decision, and then regular. So there's different types of types that it will ask you. And then for method, you're going to tell us, are you applying through the Common App? Is it through the college website? And then for Common ID. So this is important for the Common application and the Coalition application, where you'll put in the ID number, and I'll give you a little bit more information about that in just a second. But to provide application method, just make sure you select those available, such as Common application in the website. And then once you actually want to update your application ID, because if you noticed in the other screen, put it in your application ID is not a required question. So you are more than welcome to bypass that question, and you can always come back later and put it in if you don't have it ready and handy when you're filling this in. And the way you can update it is by simply clicking on the little blue pencil, and you'll be able to edit your Common App and Coalition application IDs. And so I really want to highlight that you only need to do this for Common App and Coalition application IDs. You don't need to put in your UC or CSU application ID, anything like that. Don't worry about those applications, but for the Common App and Coalition, definitely put it in there for us. And just click save, and you'll be good to go on this part. Then for your applied column, so once you move a college to applied, that's when us as your counselors will be notified, and we will then know to send documents on your behalf. So that's why that part is really important. We also want to make sure that you have submitted your application via your preferred method before marking a college as applied. So when you move a college to your applied column, we are going to make the assumption that you actually submitted your application already. So that's really important. Make sure that you've actually applied before you move them from applying to the applied column. You'll also be prompted to provide a little bit more information, such as your specific major. And it'll ask you, do you have one? No, I'm undecided, or yes, and then you can search right there in the search bar. Then your applied column will show you even more information about the colleges. So it'll display information such as college application type. So whether it's regular decision or early action, it'll say it right there clearly with the deadline. It'll talk about it'll include your college checklist completion rate and the status of documents to be sent by your counselor. So here you can see tasks completed. 2 of the 6 tasks were completed. So it's really easy and quick way for you to always stay up to date in terms of has everything been done? Are you still waiting on other documents? Something to note, if your application type is early decision, please make sure to submit your early decision contract through SCORE. That is critical. You have to submit your contract, then it goes to a parent to sign. After your parent signs, that's when your counselor will review it. But just please know that we are always going to talk to you first before we approve any early decision applications, because we want to make sure you really understand what that means. And as soon as we have that conversation with you and you still confirm that this is what you want to do, then we'll go ahead and sign our part of that contract for you. The other thing that these tiles show you is they'll display your application outcome. So obviously it's too soon for that right now, but soon enough you'll start getting responses back from colleges. So this is where you would see whether it's pending, you got accepted, you decided to defer. That's where you'll see this as well. And then for your application outcome. So this is really, really important. As soon as you start hearing back from these colleges, please make sure to go and update this section for each of your colleges. So you would head to your My Colleges tab, and under the Applied column, you can update each college specifically. You just click on it, it'll convert to expanded view, and then you just save it, and there you go. As a reminder, in May, at the beginning of May, SCORE will also be reminding you to do this every time you log in. It'll be basically the first prompt you see when you log into SCORE, because it's really important that you notify us of your final plans, because this is how we as counselors know where to send your final transcript, for example. So you have to tell us where you're going. The also great part about this is you can tell us about some non-collegiate outcomes, such as maybe you're joining the military, maybe you're going to a trade school, maybe you're taking a gap year, for example. You can also tell us here in this section. Then requesting the transcript. So we get this question a lot. In SCORE, you do not need to request a transcript. When you move a college to your applying or applied column in your My Colleges list, we automatically get alerted that a transcript is required. So this is how we will be notified what we need to send on your behalf. So just please remember that there's not an extra step that you have to do to request a transcript. All you have to do is put a college in your applying or applied column, and then we will take it from there. Recommendation request. So we want to highlight this again, starting with the teacher process. So please make sure that you talk to your teacher first in person before you go into SCORE and send them the request electronically. It's really important. It's common courtesy for you to have that conversation with teachers, because you need to remember that they have hundreds of students. So if they've already received 20 requests, they might not be taking any more. So make sure you contact them right away so you get the teachers that you want. If you're in the Common App, as Mrs. Cudmore said earlier, please do not put their email address in there. If it's a Westview teacher, do not put their email address in there. In SCORE, we have a little diagram here of how you can request a teacher's recommendation letter. And SCORE has a lot of really great tutorial videos as well to help you. But here you would search for the teacher. If you're requesting for a specific college, then you want to make sure you put the college in there so that teacher sends it directly to that college. But again, I don't want the teacher to be notified for the first time in SCORE. I want you to have that conversation in person. And then for the counselor letter recommendation process, this is also really important. Counselors, we will complete all of your school reports for the Common App, private schools, and even some public out-of-state colleges. If your school requires a counselor letter, we will send that along with your school report through SCORE. But please know that not all schools require a counselor letter of rec. So please make sure that you check the website for that. In the Common App, again, please do not put our email in there for the Common App. Because we will not be submitting our letters of recommendation directly through the Common App. It'll all be done through SCORE. So on the right, you will see a little screenshot of our process. So you will find this in detailed in our Counseling Canvas page. So in the home page, you will see a menu. You're going to go to Letter of Rec, and it'll take you to this page. And so what you need to do for us to write you a letter is you have to click on your counselor's link, and that'll take you to a counselor recommendation questionnaire. So you're going to answer a lot of questions that will really help us write a great letter for you. Once you submit that Google form, it'll give you a direct link to our calendar where you set up an appointment with us. And the reason why we want to meet with you is, one, we want to get to know you better. We want to make sure that we want to have the time to be able to ask you more questions, more follow-up questions based on how you answered your counselor recommendation questionnaire. So it's a really great opportunity for us to meet and really talk and figure out what is really important for us to highlight in your letter. So please make sure that you do that, especially if you are applying early decision, early action. Please make your appointments soon so we can get those letters written for you. Other recommenders, as we mentioned before, so if you have maybe an employer, a supervisor, a coach, youth group leader, somebody else that you have in mind that you would love for them to write a recommendation letter for you, please make sure that if they are not a Westview teacher or staff member, that they need to go through your Common App under other recommenders. They will not have a SCORE account. Only Westview staff have that. So make sure that you still put those other recommenders in your Common App and include their email. If you are using another recommender in place of your counselor recommendation, please let us know. So let your counselor know and confirm that the college will accept an alternate recommender. And we will make sure, as your counselor, to still send all of the other school materials that are required. This is a little screenshot of our upcoming senior workshop, so the ones that we have left. So on October 20th, we have a great district virtual college and career showcase. So I highly recommend for you to attend that. It's at 6 p.m. It's virtual, so you can attend from home, but I think you would get a lot out of that event, and we're really looking forward to that. In the spring is when we're going to start talking to you about community college and that application process, as well as career and vocational technical schools. So we will send out more detailed information about that senior workshop. And then we also now have college application open lab. So now that we've discussed all this college, giving you all these great tips and resources on how to complete a college application, now we want you to start them. So we have open lab hours where you can get one-on-one help from your counselors. So you'll see the dates there. It's always from 8 to 9 a.m. and it's in the A101 computer lab. So please come and see us. You don't have to tell us in advance that you're coming. It's just open hours. So just please come in and get the help that you need from us. And tomorrow you will also get a link to this presentation that you will find on your senior year guide. And I've been telling all my students, and I hope you've all been doing it, but please save that senior year guide, bookmark it, make it a favorite, you name it, because I want you to really look at it all the time, because that's what you're going to get all the information you need as a senior, what you need to be doing now, what you need to be doing later on, all the events, any requirements. It tells you how to request recommendation letters, everything we've covered today. Like, please make sure that you review that document all the time, because it's updated on a daily basis. And we really hope that this was informational and that you feel better about your applications. We are here to help, and we're just very grateful that you came and attended. And that's all the information we have for you. Mrs. Cudmore, and do you have anything else to add?
No, just thank you so much for joining us. As Mrs. C mentioned, the senior year guide has all of these resources for you. We know it's a lot of information and we went through really quickly. So that's why we want that to be available, so you can go back through each section if you want to look more in detail. But definitely come to our open labs. We're here to help. We want to make sure that your applications are accurate and correct before you submit them to your colleges. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night.